Hi, how you doing? Uh, this is for my mom. I love my mom, and this is for Gloria, for my sister. We're gonna help mom out. And the lady that you need to talk to, Gloria, is Corey Yellen. And this is her final radio interview with Ian Jessup on June 9th, 2006. I just want you to take a listen.
Now, the Ian Jessup Show.
Last month, I received an email from a listener in Bath, England, of all places, and she said, your guest, Corey Yellen, is the most interesting person I have listened to in a long time. Keep her on your show. She is a true inspiration to humanity. And joining us is the inspirational Corey Yellen, who cured herself of cancer by using cannabis oil. Good to see you again, Corey.
Good to see you, Ian.
Now, when I first started talking to you in January, you said you had more than 600,000 emails from people all over the world. How many emails do you have today?
I actually went home and looked yesterday. 710,000 some odd.
710,000.
Yeah.
Now, you have also an advice page on Facebook.
Yes.
Do I have that right?
Yeah, I have 2 individual pages and then an advice page as well.
And you have a lot of people on that?
23,000 or 24,000 now, I think.
24,000.
Now, if you notice on the title, it says "Run from the Cure," the Rick Simpson story. My profile picture is standing with Rick Simpson. And I got to talk to him for an hour, and he told me many, many incredible stories about saving people's lives. And this is the gentleman, well, she'll tell you what happened.
Now, because most people know very little about cannabis oil, me included, when I first interviewed you, I knew absolutely nothing.
Right.
And you've probably forgotten more than I know now. But it's a good idea for them to at least have some basic research before they contact you,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
Because you don't want to be educating people, because you deal with so many people
Right.
for 12, 14 hours a day.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Now, I want to read an email here that I got from a woman less than an hour ago. And it'll take me a few minutes to read it, but I think it speaks to what the woman from Bath, England said, that Corey is a true inspiration. It says, Dear Ian, I'm sorry for this mode of communication, as I'd much rather call you, but I am just too scared to be transparent with the laws being what they are. I won't use my real name. 4 months ago, I heard a show you had on with Corey Yellen, and I was a single mother with a 6-year-old newly diagnosed child with stage 3 leukemia. I was devastated and felt helpless to do anything to ease my son's suffering and to save his life. I want you to know your show and hearing Corey Yellen changed my life. After hearing the program, I began researching cannabis oil. For the first time since the nightmare began, I had a flicker of hope. I tracked Corey down and called her. She said she felt there was no reason you can't clear Morgan of this cancer with oil, and it's doable was the term she used, and that if it were her, she would try oil before embarking on chemotherapy or radiation. She also says it was her experience that leukemias were one of the easiest to clear. I hung up from that call with newfound hope and determination, and under the guidance of a naturopathic doctor here in Ontario, started my son on the oil protocol. Not an hour ago, remember this is today, I sat across from the oncologist, a knot in my stomach and a lump in my throat, waiting for the test results. I was in disbelief as he told me, my son no longer has cancer. I think I sat in shock for a minute or two before it really sank in. Thank God. If you could, would you please share the news with Corey? I've lost her contact information. Corey, I am at a loss for words. You have literally saved my son's life, and there is nothing I can say that comes close to telling you how I am feeling right now. From the depths of my heart, I thank you. I will never forget what you did for a complete stranger. I thank you too, Ian, for stepping outside the confines of airing shows such as the one with Corey.
I talk to as many people as I can about this. Strangers on the bus drivers, anybody that it looks like they have had chemo, I talk to them. Anybody that looks sick, I talk to them. It's just
Fantastic email, isn't it?
Yeah, it
what
really
you can
is.
do.
Thank you.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's emotional for you.
Yeah, it is. I am so thrilled that your son's all right.
Yeah, that's great. Let's go to the phones and talk to Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Ian. Hey, this is just a comment to Corey. I lost my month on St. Patrick's Day to leukemia. She went very rapidly. 5 days after diagnosis, she passed away. That's the way she would have wanted to go. But one of my very first thoughts when she was presented with this diagnosis, and I was with her when she was given this diagnosis, was I'm going to go the route of marijuana with her. Now, it wasn't time for her, but I just want to repeat what you've said. It can't hurt. And you gave me hope just knowing that there's people out there and that this process is going forward. So I just want to thank you for being on the air as your last email came across. So
Yeah,
thank
great.
you for
Thank
being
you
there.
so much, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Nice call.
Yep. Thank you.
And Corey, I have an email here from Megan who says, my sister has lung cancer and had one lung removed. She now has a metastatic tumor on her brain, and radiation has started Phoenix Tears, but cannot get anywhere near the recommended dosage of the Rick Simpson method. Should she also be taking high doses of CBD? And she has also found taking CBD does not seem to mitigate the effects of the high from the Phoenix Tears. Any suggestions, Megan?
Well, first of all, I'd be curious as to what percent of THC is in the oil that's been called Phoenix Tears. My next thought would be, is this CBD from hemp or is this CBD from cannabis? There are other ways to do cannabis oil so that she doesn't get high. She can do suppositories of cannabis oil, and you can get as complicated or as uncomplicated as you want with that. Simply get some olive oil, and I say olive over coconut because olive oil is more readily absorbed. Warm up a little bit of olive oil, add cannabis oil to it, stir it together with a toothpick or whatever, draw it up into a 1 ml syringe, the skinny mini ones that you get for diabetes, and have her insert the syringe rectally about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, just past the sphincter muscle, and then just push the plunger. Easy breezy. She will not get high that way, but it is important for her to do it orally as well, so perhaps what she could do is do it orally at night and then do it via suppository in the daytime. Another thing that she can do is get some cannabis oil, mix it with a little bit, just a tiny bit of coconut oil, and rub it on wherever the tumor is. Let's just say, for sake of argument, that the tumor is in the brainstem. Rub it on the brain stem, and it will actually slowly absorb over a 16-hour period.
Yeah, what's that other thing that you told me a couple of weeks ago to diminish the high? Choline?
Oh, citicoline. Citicoline will diminish the high. You can get that at some health food stores.
Yeah. Citicoline.
Citicoline, yeah.
Great. Let's go to the phones and talk to Morella. Hi, Morella.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great.
Hi, Morella.
Hi, Corey.
Hi.
Hello.
You.
Now, just to let you know, that's great advice if you don't want to get a real high. And if you're dealing, like for instance, if somebody's terrified of getting high, citicoline is the thing to use. What's really nice about this podcast, just to let you know, is they're time coded. And that was Megan at 7:10, and there's a bunch of other stuff on here. This is her last interview that Ian Jessup and Corey Yellen had on CFAX in Victoria. Reason being is cannabis is so effective as curing things. It's unbelievable. You can listen to more stories. Just to let you know, it's under Corey Yellen under YouTube. You go to YouTube, type in Corey Yellen, and you will bring up this channel. You can look here. Anyway, I'm going to go on to the next little bit. That's a great story to listen to. Take heed, please. This is her Facebook page. This is the Cannabis Health Radio, And it may look a little bit weird because I have my screen all dark. So, on this radio, she started this on October 16th. And it's May 15th right now, 2017. This is her 142nd podcast. Out of 142 podcasts, each story is unique. Each story is totally inspirational in most cases. And this one here is just unbelievable. I'm going to play a little bit for you.
And doing book readings and stuff, and I couldn't do it if I took the steroids, so I quit actually. And then my wife says, well, we're going to put this on your chest and your back every morning and every night. I said, what is it? She said, well, it's a mixture of essential oils. To me, it sounded like a recipe for lasagna. I mean, it had oil of oregano, it had this, it had eucalyptus, it had all kinds of stuff.
You just needed a couple of meatballs.
That's it. And a little garlic.
Doug, they're called essential for a reason.
I think so. But, one of the problems with COPD, if it's a later stage, you're breathing, you crackle when you breathe and you wheeze, and that would keep me awake at night. And when she put this oil on my chest and back, it gave me some relief from that. Not a lot, but some. And gave me no relief from the fatigue. So that was mid-September. And my wife went out to Colorado towards the end of September to meet with our realtor out there. And unbeknownst to me, my wife went to a dispensary because she had read online some anecdotal stories, particularly in Facebook groups, about people who were treating their COPD with cannabis oil. Now, my wife didn't tell me when she came back with this cannabis oil that it was cannabis oil. She said, I've been reading, this has some promise. I want you to take a little bit of this every day. I said, what is it, honey? She said, doesn't matter. Never mind, Doug. Doesn't matter what it is. I said, well, yes, it does. That's a syringe. What is in there? Where's the needle? She said, it doesn't matter. It's essentially an essential oil. I said, honey, I'm not putting that in my body if I don't know what it is. So she said, all right, it's cannabis oil. Oh, man, did I explode. Expletives bouncing off the walls. I am not taking that crap. I put people in jail for that. You saw what it did to our own son for a while. I'm not touching that stuff. And where the hell did you get it? It's illegal in Florida. Duh. We own a ranch in Colorado. It's legal. I got it there. Well, how the hell did you get it home? Well, it doesn't matter. So for 6 days, 6 straight days, Ian, I said, no. She said, yes, you are. I said, no, I'm not. She said, yes, you are. I said, no, I'm not. On day 7, she came to me with a packed suitcase and said, honey, if you don't take this, I'm going to go live with Molly and the kids down in Orlando. Oh, my gosh. You won't help yourself, I'm not going to help you either. So I was hoping she was kidding, but I didn't know. So I said, well, how do I take it? And am I going to get high? She said, I don't think so. And you can put a drop under your tongue, or you can take it as a suppository. I said, I'll put it under my tongue. I'm not doing a suppository, and I'm not going to do it during the daytime. I don't know what's going to happen. You said you don't think I'm going to get high. So that night in bed, I put a tiny drop under my tongue. It tasted horrible. I didn't like it at all. And I sat there wide-eyed, and all of a sudden my wife's standing beside me, and I said, what's happening? Am I silly? Am I being stupid? What's going on? Am I high? She said, Doug, it's 7:30 in the morning. You just slept for 7 hours for the first time in 6 months. I said, what? Yes, you slept through the night. So the second night I broke Florida law again. fourth night. About the sixth night, my wheezing nearly disappeared. My wife had bought a air purifier to put in the bedroom to turn the fan on high to drown out the sound of my wheezing.
I thought you were going to say earplugs.
Well, essentially the same thing, to drown out my wheezing. And on about night 6 or 7, she only had it on medium instead of high, and I slept through the night again. So we just kept doing it, and I had an appointment with my doctor scheduled. I canceled it and didn't go. And then the funniest thing happened. All right, now I started the 1st of October with a small drop. After about 10 days, I told my wife I was going to quit taking it because I didn't think it was helping other than sleep, because I was still horribly fatigued. And I couldn't stand the taste. And so my wife, brilliant woman, she says, well, why don't you put it on a Tic Tac and put it under your tongue? Well, what a great idea. So from that night on, we started just putting the drop on a Tic Tac and putting it under my tongue. And that was pretty tolerable. So I quit taking all the doctor's medicines. I wouldn't go to my appointment, but I had previously scheduled, like 6 months before, a colonoscopy with my GI doctor. So I went into the hospital in Gainesville for my colonoscopy, and they're prepping me for this colonoscopy. What a thrill those are. And in the door bangs my pulmonary doctor. Doug, what is going on? You missed your appointment. I saw you're here in the hospital. I'm making my rounds. Let's listen to your chest. And before I could say a word, he's saying, take a deep breath. So I'm taking 4 deep breaths on the front and 4 deep breaths on my back. And he gets this puzzled look on his face. I said, what is it? He said, well, let me listen again. So he listens again, looks up at me, and I say, well, what is it? And he turns and walks over to the door, which had been open, and he closes it. He says, Doug, what are you doing? Your lungs are clear.
Wow.
Anyway, that's just such a fascinating story. You got to listen to the whole thing. He totally changes what he does and how he does it. And I will get the link for his website. And I'm trying to find out how we can get some of his wife's teachings. He's brilliant. He's totally, totally credible. So if you know anybody with COPD, this is your stuff. Well, here's my friend Jack. He's just a really interesting guy from Ontario. And I'm going to get you to listen to his take on drugs and stuff. Just take a listen.
As many Tylenol for as I could keep down, because I was in so much pain. Nothing worked. All that all those medications do is they numb the head. Is all they do. The pain is still there. You develop a tolerance, and that's it. And they can pump as much of that into you as they want. It doesn't help.
How many visits to therapy did you have over the years?
Oh my God, I had the most visits. I had 500 in one straight run, 584 visits.
584. Did the drugs or therapy help you at all?
Not the drugs, no. The therapy did, and what they were doing is I would literally hold onto the table, and then they would take the seat belt and they would wrap it around my arm, and they would do a figure 8 around their shoulder, and they would lean back, and they would stretch my arm because I couldn't lift my arms, and they would stretch my arm to the point where they could wrap it around my head. And then once they did that, I got to use my hands and arms for maybe 2-3 hours after the session, and after that, everything would go back to gridlock.
Well, all the medications you were on, did the doctor say anything to you about the quantity of drugs that you were taking?
They gave them to me.
But surely they must have said, listen, you're on far too many medications, we have to take you off some of them. But no?
You would think, wouldn't you?
But instead, they probably said, have another.
Well, this is what it is. Once one doesn't work, so now you add this to that. If that doesn't work, we'll continue to take this, and we're going to add this to your regime. And you see the bottom line is the body is quite an amazing thing, and I discovered that when the cancer came. I was diagnosed with terminal bladder cancer, and so this is what I did. And I was already ingesting cannabis, so I figured I had the cancer for about 6 years because it felt like my back was broken. They told me I had herniated disc, pulled muscle, you're old, live with it, and so I'd get up in the morning and I had 3 2-liter Pepsi bottles frozen out all the time, and I would put them on my back where the chair that I would sit, and I would sit out like that until I went to bed. That's how bad the pain was. And then finally, when I passed all the blood from the bladder cancer, well, whoa, we got a problem here now, Houston. So when I went to the doctors, and then this is what happened here. I handed in the bottle that I peed in, and 6 weeks later, I'm phoning to see what happened, and then he told me that if there was a problem, that they would have contacted me.
Well, I would think blood in the urine would
You would think
indicate that there's something amiss.
It was like I had slashed my wrist. This is how much blood. And it wasn't until a friend of mine that works there, she come back from vacation, found the bottle, and like this, it was terrible. And she asked if I was still peeing blood. Yes. And then bam, she says, get in here. 3 days later, I had an ultrasound. 5 days later, I was in Windsor to see the urologist. And then 2 days later, I had an ultrasound. And then this is what they did. And then it's come back and said, here you go. This is what you got. Then I learned about the cannabis and the oil. So I pounded myself with the oil.
How did you learn about the cannabis oil?
Well, it started, my friend from, he used to live here in town. He moved out to the East Coast because they wouldn't let him have his chickens here. He had sent me the running from the, running from the Cure video. And I was familiar with cannabis and familiar with cannabis oil, but for more of a recreational reason. And so when I started to look at this video and started to listen here, and so then what I did is from there is, okay, I got to do this. So I got as much cannabis oil into me as I possibly could. And the cancer was gone for a year. Then it came back. So I consumed a lot of cannabis oil. And so the missing link of what everybody needs to understand here, cannabis isn't like the oil in this isn't the magic bullet. That's the easy part. The hard part is making the lifestyle change necessary to save your life. You see, this is what happens when a cancer cell develops. It develops insulin receptors. So any type of fructose, glucose, dextrose, any types of sugar that you put in goes directly to feed that cancer cell. A cancer cell also depends on methionine. Highest concentration of methionine is found in red meat, dairy products, eggs, chicken, and fish. Now I'm going to give you some numbers to it. Red meat has 180 units of methionine. Dairy products, 195 units of methionine. Eggs have 240 units of methionine. Chicken has 460 units of methionine. And fish is off the charts with methionine. So to somebody that has cancer, those foods are deadly. That's what cancer-smelling dogs smell, is methionine. All cancer gives off methionine.
I don't know if you ever remembered watching on TV that English show where the dog actually did smell the lady's cancer, and that's what he's talking about. I'm sure, you could Google that if you want, but I know it's there for a fact.
Gas. Cancer cells thrive in an acidic environment. So because I never changed my lifestyle, I never changed anything. I just pounded it with the oil. It brought the cancer off for a bit, but it came back because I didn't change anything. Once I changed everything in my life, and then I had results.
So you
That's exactly what happened, because I came up with this, so I don't eat any red meat. I don't eat anything what I just told you there. and this is the healthiest I've ever been in my life.
How much cannabis oil were you taking?
I was taking at one time almost 5 grams of oil a day when I was just taking the oil.
5 grams. Did you get high?
No.
Seriously?
See, the high passes. See, this is what everybody needs to understand, you know. Everybody's worried about the high. The high is the least of your concerns. You're dying.
Amen.
Yeah.
You know, that's the least of your concerns, and I don't understand people. I don't like how it makes me feel. Well, you like how the chemo's making you feel. You like the vomiting that you're going through. You like, you know, so I do not understand, because cannabis has had for the last 75 years this picture painted. So it's very difficult to remove that picture, the stigma that's implanted in everybody's head. You know, what everybody needs to understand, this plant has been here, and cannabis oil has been here so long that that's what the 3 wise men brought baby Jesus. They brought cannabosum oil, which is cannabis oil, frankincense oil, and myrrh oil, and that's the Holy Trinity. That's what the Bible's about, that right there. And that will cure just about any sickness on the planet.
Nobody's ever died from it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Jack, when you were given the diagnosis that you had bladder cancer by the doctors, what did they tell you? Did they recommend chemo and radiation?
Yes.
And what did you tell them?
No. I allowed them to give me BCG, which is the Bacillus clementi-guerin, which is the tuberculosis virus, and that was injected into my bladder to stimulate an immune response. And so my bladder isn't where my immune system responded. So I broke out into this rash outside of my body, and I had it for a year and a half. There was times I have an 8-piece band. There was times I couldn't play with the band. I couldn't go outside into the sun. I saw 3 different skin specialists, and every single one of them gave me a different story. And I said, it happened when you did this. So I took pictures of my rash, and I went to another guy in the garage, and I said, hey, am I allergic to my cannabis? He goes, no. He goes, oh my, Jack. He says, those are acid burns. He says, everything touching you is burning you like acid. The water you're washing in, the clothes you're wearing, the food you're eating. He says, you're acidic. This is why you got cancer. And this is when I zeroed in on the diet. So I went in and I made this smoothie up, and it's an alkaline smoothie. I had that rash for a year and a half, and in 9 days after drinking that smoothie, it was gone. So all of a sudden I realized we tripped onto something here. So I started to ask some questions in a group that I belong to. And I started to ask about, does anybody have these rashes? And oh my God, yes. Or you might have even gone through that rash when you were going through stuff.
No, I didn't. But I've certainly heard of it before, yeah.
Yes, and that's the acidic rash. That should tip you.
Now, I want you to really understand this, because there's a lot of people that have tried cannabis that I know that get that rash. And they think they're allergic to the cannabis. It's not the allergic reaction to the cannabis.
Right then and there, that's why you have cancer.
So you made this smoothie, and I've been on your blog and looked at the ingredients. Man, you have a lot of ingredients. It looks great.
It's life in a jar.
No, absolutely.
And all I can tell you is that's the best thing that you could do, even if you're not sick. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself. You see, our biggest mistake is we've all been trained that we need to eat meat. We don't have teeth like dogs, man. This is how you need to understand, at carnivores. And
You need to listen to the whole thing. You really do. This is invaluable information. He talks about the endocannabinoid system, how it works, how it affects you, and how you can have a deficiency in that area. Anyway, that's another
intestines is 3 times or.
That's another area to listen to educate yourself upon. Here's Jack Kungle. I've actually talked to him on the phone. He's a great guy. JackKungle.com. And I'm going to play a little bit of this video. But this is how you do coconut oil extraction. He'll get into that. It's very simple. how to make capsules. Easy peasy. And probably one of the most important parts is a smoothie. And that's really, really good too. I'm going to play, here's the video. Play a bit of that.
Every single sickness on the planet is a cannabinoid deficiency. How about that? Every single sickness. Cannabinoids come from two places. It comes from the cannabis plant and breast milk. So, if you have children, you've already fed cannabinoids to your children through breast milk. And like I said, so we have the CB1 and CB2 receptors. The CB1 receptors run our organs. The CB2 receptors runs our immune system. See, Western medicine, they go right directly to the cancer. Well, it was your immune system that allowed the cancer to happen. So we don't, when we're dealing with cancer or the sick, we don't go to the cancer. We go immediately to your immune system. We go to your guts, to the gut flora. That's what we address. So it was a complete lifestyle change that had to happen. Mentally, spiritually, physically. And spiritually, and I don't mean God. I mean, I had to go get in touch with my soul, my higher self. This is where I needed to go because nobody was coming down to do this. Western medicine wasn't going to heal me. I had terminal cancer. I was on 22 medications, a high blood pressure, diabetic, a overweight because of I have bilateral carpal tunnel, bilateral nerve entrapment, 2 torn rotator cuffs. I snapped my leg up, so I have the torn meniscus, tendon, cruciate ligament. I wore a leg brace for 42 years. I've had 16 surgeries. And so I had the right guy cross my path 8.5 years ago, and he suggested that I vaporize cannabis and start to eat it. 20 years ago in 1990 when I got injured, I started vomiting from the reactions for all my medications, and I vomited for 21 years, probably 15, 20 times a day. I broke 4 ribs over 300 times. I lost my teeth and everything. It didn't matter if it was a coffee, if it was water, so I stopped drinking alcohol and not realizing that I was in a total chemical toxicity from all the meds that I'm on. So once I started to realize what was going on here, I started to ingest cannabis, not cannabis oil, just the decarb cannabis, and I put it into size 0 capsules. And so I just started to eat the capsules. So every time I walk past these capsules, I ate 2-3 capsules, and there's 0.02 grams in the size 0 capsules.
Sorry about that. We're just going to sort of carry on to where we're at.
I was on 22 medications, a high blood pressure, diabetic, a overweight because of I have bilateral carpal tunnel, bilateral nerve entrapment, 2 torn rotator cuffs. I snapped my leg up, so I have the torn meniscus, tendon, cruciate ligament. I wore a leg brace for 42 years. I've had 16 surgeries. And so I had the right guy cross my path 8.5 years ago, and he suggested that I vaporize cannabis and start to eat it. 20 years ago in 1990 when I got injured, I started vomiting from the reactions for all my medications, and I vomited for 21 years, probably 15, 20 times a day. I broke 4 ribs over 300 times. I lost my teeth and everything. It didn't matter if it was a coffee, if it was water, so I stopped drinking alcohol and not realizing that I was in a total chemical toxicity from all the meds that I'm on. So once I started to realize what was going on here, I started to ingest cannabis, not cannabis oil, just the decarb cannabis, and I put it into size 0 capsules. And so I just started to eat the capsules. So every time I walk past these capsules, I ate 2-3 capsules, and there's 0.02 grams in the size 0 capsules. So in 2 or 3 weeks' time, I was now taking 5 or 6 capsules, but 4 weeks later, I'm off my OxyContin. 6 weeks later, I'm off my morphine. 8 weeks later, I'm off the fentanyl patch. 12 weeks later, I'm off 5 blood pressure medication. I was on 2,000 milligrams of metformin. I was going on the needle for my diabetes. I take nothing now. My blood sugar is perfect. My blood pressure now runs 112 over 72, and it used to run over 180 all the time, and used to get bloody noses. I had absolutely no use of my hands and my arms. I couldn't lift my arms.
Well, then you couldn't play, or what do you play in your band? Were you doing anything, really?
No, I couldn't do anything. I had no use of my upper vertebra because I almost had my arms ripped off. So this is the most important plant on the planet. You know, it's a threat to nobody other than the pharmaceutical industry and their pocketbook, and the oil industry, the cotton industry, and to the lumber industry. Because if they legalize cannabis and you'd never cut down another tree, you'd never dig another oil well, and you'd never pick another ball of cotton, because it's the most toxic substance on the planet to grow, and you wouldn't take any more pills. I mean, I was on 22 medications and I take nothing. I don't even have an aspirin in my house.
Yeah. I mean, you're such a testimonial, and not just in your...
This is such a good interview. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to Corey Yellen's webpage, and here it is. Hey, look who's there, Cheech and Chong. That's pretty neat. Well, that's a really nice picture, Corey. I love it. This is such a neat page. Look at this. Well, this is such a hoot. This is one of the funniest interviews I've ever seen, and one of the most humble men. My hat's off to that gentleman, beyond words, for being as brave as he is. You gotta listen to this interview. Yeah, I agree with Diane Jensen. Absolutely loved his honesty. Here's another podcast. The real threat is cannabis works so well. 9,828 pills a year. Oh gee, I wonder if that money doesn't come in anymore. There's another good story. Thanks, Corey. Thank you for what you do. Let's see. Really good group is the Phoenix Tears group. And we're loading more stuff in. Anyway, that's Corey. And do I have one more thing here? If you go to Corey Yellen's Facebook page, you'll find unbelievable amount of information here. It has where's it? Oh, sorry about that. We're reloading. It's coming. Or it's gone screwy. I don't know. We'll see.
How I'm feeling right now. From the depths of my heart, I thank you.
Oh.
I will never forget what you did for a complete stranger. I thank you too, Ian, for stepping outside the confines of airing shows such as the one with Corey. That's a fantastic.
Just look at how many Corey Yellen. These are all great shows, by the way. Not those. I don't know if I want to watch a entire interview. Anyway, there's one more thing I was going to do, and I will show you. Well, this is Phoenix Tears Cannabis Oil Advice with Corey, Janet, and Jen. It's a closed group, but you can add yourself here. It's a good place to start. Just going to make things a little bit bigger here so I can read them. Wow, what a great story. If you wish to join this, it's a good place to ask questions. There's a lot of good technical information here. And I started drinking turmeric. Thanks, Rick. I agree with you. My brother's pretty smart. Anyway, this is for my mom. I want my mom to see this. I love you. Love you, Laura. Love you, all my family. Take care. Cheers.